Retail Banking Unit 2. Role within the bank operations. Objectives. The objectives of this unit are to understand different approaches in retail banking. Retail business models. Introduction. Banks follow different approaches for their retail banking activities. The role and importance of retail banking across banks differ, and different models are adopted by banks. The models and processes depend upon the importance attached to the retail banking space in their overall corporate business strategies and the business projection over the years for retail banking. The business models for retail banking show interesting revelations across types of banks. The models adopted by banks vary among the public sector, private sector, and foreign banks. The main approaches are as follows. A. Strategic Business Unit (SBU) approach. B. Departmental approach. C. Integrated approach, part of the overall business plan. A. Strategic Business Unit (SBU). SBU approach aims at dividing the business on lines of strategic business units, SBUs. SBUs are autonomous divisions, small enough to be flexible and large enough to exercise control over most of the factors affecting its long-term performance. SBUs can be defined as profit centers which focus on product offering and market segment. An SBU can be a business unit of a large corporation, or it can be a business in itself. As per a research study on the models followed by about 10 banks comprising of public, private and foreign banks, the SBU approach is adopted by one of the top 5 public sector banks based in Mumbai, and their business model is in alignment with private sector banks and foreign banks. In new generation private sector banks, the business model is very clear. They had set up strategic business units, SBU, to have clear focus and business objectives. In foreign banks also, SBU is the business model followed with defined business focus. The demarcation as a SBU is more a management by objectives, MBO, process wherein the business model is dealt as a modular strategy for achieving targeted profits with a provision to knock down the module, if the retail plans are not translated as per the objectives. B. Departmental approach. In departmental approach, rather than dividing on strategic or business lines, an organization can also be divided on the basis of functions various teams perform. The departmental approach is a specialized functional approach within an organization. This approach segregates the functions of the organization into departments such as accounting, marketing, finance, planning, etc. Generally, every department has its manager and chain of command. Public sector banks in India generally have adopted the departmental approach as their retail banking business model. It indicates that the approach is more a general one with retail banking as one of the business models and not a focused business model. Public sector banks in India generally have adopted the departmental approach as their retail banking business model. In old generation private sector banks, the approach is more conservative. The business model for retail banking is built as a part of the overall business plan and not done as a separate departmental activity, leave alone SBU. C. The integrated approach. The integrated approach is usually adopted by smaller businesses. It combines all socio-economic aspects and adopts a cohesive approach to tackle problems of the business. It is assumed that having a unified business would reduce risk and increase profitability through scale rather than having separate entities for each business line. If we go further deep into the models of retail banking followed by banks with regard to products, processes, delivery channels, technology, etc., the real depth of retail banking, the relevance of each element for the efficiency of the total model, and the interdependency of these elements for the success of the models are revealed. Business models. Banks generally structure their retail banking models mainly on a positioning platform. Strategies are based on the positioning objectives and vary from bank to bank depending on the importance attached to the business model. In case of old generation private banks, the positioning platform is very clear. It is based on the overall business plan and in line with their size and scale. The new generation private banks have clear vision about their positioning platform. They want to be in the top slot across all class of banks, and justifiably so. The technology, strategy, customer and business initiatives, and aggressive positioning are the advantages these banks enjoy to achieve the desired objectives. Even recent entrants in the private sector side have clear positioning strategies about where they want to be going forward in the next 2-3 years and put suitable action plan to achieve their objectives. Foreign banks generally do not go by positioning objectives but purely on business objectives. They go by customer, business and profit targets. They take a call on the business model itself or one segment of the overall model. If the same is not profitable, and either exit the retail banking segment itself or exit a particular business line within the model. The classic example is BNP Paribas, which entered the retail banking space very aggressively during the late 1990s with a full-fledged brand building exercise, but quit the space after they found that it was not a profitable segment for them with the business they generated. Likewise, American Express Bank came out of their credit card business after taking stock of its viability. On the positive side, though ABN AMRO Bank was a late entrant in the retail banking space, with their entry in mid-1990s, still they had a clear positioning focus for building up the retail banking franchise. ABN AMRO Bank was a late entrant in the credit card space also, but they had built up the card base aggressively and posed a threat to other established credit card players. Let us sum up. Business models are adopted by banks keeping in mind their overall business strategy, projections for two-way, business mix, and corporate objectives. The business models followed by banks for retail banking activities can be of strategic business unit, SBU, approach, departmental approach, and integrated approach, part of the overall business plan. Banks generally structure their retail banking models mainly on a positioning platform and to be the best top 3 among the peer group players or across players. Strategies are based on the positioning objectives and vary from bank to bank depending on the importance attached to the business model. It is used as a barometer for all decisions that impact the marketing strategy of the bank. Foreign banks normally do not go by positioning objectives. Rather, strategy plays a big role in foreign banks. Foreign banks had in the past have existed when their business objectives have not been met. A classic example is BNP Paribas existing in the late 1990s.